Hey, folks, welcome back to the Follow Your Why podcast, where each week I help you navigate life, career transitions, reconnect with your deeper purpose, and uncover your unique why, all while practicing mindfulness to keep it all in balance. I'm your host, Rob Graham. In this episode, we're going to talk about something that isn't for the faint of heart. It's something I think we all struggle with, at least I hope so, and that is the courage to follow your why once you discover it. You've probably heard the term the hero's journey. It's this age-old arc, shows up in myths and books, movies, and in real life. You might recognize it from the movies like Star Wars, The Lord of the Rings. It's that story of someone being called to a higher purpose, facing challenges, making sacrifices, ultimately, and this is an important distinction, ultimately transforming the world around them, right? And here's the thing, following your why, it's really no different. In fact, it isn't for wimps. If you're looking for an easy ride or a simple, comfortable life, then discovering your purpose and following it might not be what you're looking for. But if you're ready to embrace a journey that could change not just your life, but the world around you, then stick with me for the next minutes here. I'm going to help you understand what it really takes to have the courage to follow your purpose once you know it. Let's start with the archetype of the hero's journey. It's that moment when you're called to something greater than yourself. Maybe you've heard the story of Moses and the burning bush. The call is clear, the mission is huge, and it's life-altering. Moses ends up living a life he never expected for himself. He's a shepherd in the desert trying to get by. But then he encounters a burning bush. It speaks to him. This bush isn't just on fire, it's alive. And it tells Moses that he's been chosen to lead his people out of Egypt. It's a daunting, terrifying, life-altering mission. It's a great story. Now, what do you see? You see Moses questioning it immediately. Who am I? I'm not qualified for this. I can't do this. So really, that's where the journey really begins. Because here's the thing about purpose. Once you discover your true why, it is never easy. It's not like discovering your why is a magic moment where everything is smooth sailing after that. It's often the opposite. In fact, it can feel a lot like Moses standing there at that foot of that burning bush and thinking, this isn't for me. I'm not equipped for this. I'm too small for this. I don't speak well. You're asking me to lead an entire group of people. But Moses had to face that fear, the resistance, and step into the unknown. He had to find the courage to find and follow a calling that would shape the future of an entire people. It was terrifying. It required faith. It demanded him to show up in ways that he didn't think he could. Think about that. Being demanded to show up in ways that you don't think you can, but you're called to. The same is true for you and me. Your purpose is bigger than your comfort zone. That's for sure. And finding the courage to walk into that calling is one of the hardest, most rewarding things you'll ever do. Now, I want to pause here, and I want to address something that often comes up when we're talking about purpose. You might have heard the term purpose-driven life or finding your calling and thought, well, isn't my purpose just to be happy? Isn't it about living my best life? And there's some truth in that, of course, but here's the distinction. It's my belief that true fulfillment comes when your purpose extends beyond just making you happy or comfortable. The why we're talking about today and the why we're talking about the Take Two Project and the Follow Your Why podcast is always going to be more than collecting some seashells that you look at in your living room. It's not about building a life of comfort and doing whatever feels good. The kind of purpose we're talking about here is one that impacts the world, one that leaves a mark of some kind, big or small. It challenges the status quo. It pushes you beyond your limits. Pretty soon we'll have guest segments here on this show, and I can't wait for you to hear their stories. We're going to hear firsthand the brave, courageous adjustments that were necessary for these people to follow their why. It's very inspiring. It puts a face on it. And it's not for the faint of heart. It's about making a meaningful impact in the world. Think about it for a minute. How many people have you met who are deeply fulfilled? I know a handful of people that have more money than they need. You probably do too. Go through that list of those people. How many of those people are fulfilled and living a life that you're proud of, or that you would be proud of? Now, if you think about those who have authentically impacted you and the world around you, someone who is following hard after their purpose, those are the ones who have touched others in a powerful way, people who've committed to something bigger than themselves. Enough said, I think you get the point. But we all need a reminder about that from time to time. What is it we're aiming for? So what happens once you discover your why and your purpose? Well, this is where the real journey begins. It's a call that you can't ignore, but it's also a struggle that requires something more than you have on your own. It's kind of an irony, an oxymoron. If we look at the hero's journey, there's always the moment of departure, the decision to leave the familiar and go into the unknown. I love that phrase. It immediately excites me. I guess it's just in my blood. The person who makes a decision to leave the familiar and go into the unknown. This is always daunting. It could mean leaving behind the safety of a steady job, a predictable routine, a comfortable life, or finally ignoring unrealistic expectations you feel from others, what they think you should do, or what they think you're capable of. Are you hearing me? But you can't grow. You can't have a real impact if you stay in the safety of what you know and where you are. There's a quote I love from Henry Blackaby's Experiencing God that really sums this up. You cannot stay where you are and go with God. Now, you don't have to believe in God for this to be relevant. You could replace God with your purpose, your calling, your why. The point is that staying in your comfort zone will prevent you from moving toward the person you were meant to become and the impact you were meant to have. You have to make a choice to take a step out there in faith, whether that's trusting your instincts, following your gut, listening to that still small voice inside of you. And then that's where the real work starts. So obviously we've established that this is a hard journey. It's not an easy one. My mom lived into her late 80s, and she used to say, she'd laugh and say, getting old isn't for wimps. Following your why is not for wimps. But here's the good news. The payoff is incredible. When you step into your calling, when you walk the path that was made just for you, everything changes. Your perspective, your actions, your relationships, it all starts to align. Opportunities open up once you take that step. The world doesn't get any easier, but you'll find yourself getting stronger, more capable, and more confident in your ability to make an impact in this specific area. It's all about doing that work that's bigger than you. That's a key. The courage to follow your why is the courage to transform not just your life, but to contribute something that can change others' lives too. You can think of it this way. The hero's journey isn't just about personal glory and achievement. It's about transformation. That's what we're talking about. You're transformed in the process, and the world around you is transformed too. And a little hint, if you're looking to find your calling, you're looking to find your why, look for those areas in your life that have been the weakest and that you've conquered. Those are usually the places callings come from. So, as we wrap up today's episode, I want you to think about where you are on your own journey. Have you discovered your why? Have you made the bold, courageous moves to start following it? I want to leave you with this. The journey of following your why isn't easy. It's not meant to be. But it's what gives life meaning, and it's what leaves a legacy. You might face doubts, fears, and moments where you wonder if you're cut out for this, but trust me, you are. You have everything inside of you to step into your unique calling, your unique why, to change your life and to make an impact in the world around you. Just remember, it's not for wimps, but if you're ready, it will be the most rewarding journey of your life. I thank you for tuning in today to the Follow Your Why podcast. I invite you to stay involved with us, dive into the materials we have, and we'll talk to you next time.